Hello, and you are back with Roll on the Adventure. Roll the god-awful theme song. It's Roll on the Adventure. It's where you can hear us play terrible games. Do-do-do.
Adventure.
That was a pretty good one, actually.
That was less awful.
But
We're
we're
grading on a
talking
scale
like,
here,
yeah,
man.
it's
It's
kind
a
of
lot
like,
less awful.
it's like how a van accident is statistically worse than a car accident.
Whereas I think the fourth intro was more plane crash.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the fourth or the fifth one? I don't know which was worse now. Anyway,
I think there's a good chance we'll learn how to sing by the end of the show.
Or we'll get a special guest contributor just because they can sing.
Yeah.
okay. So we were up to the main game loop. We'd already pointed out a few things that kind of didn't really work. So action slots per day. I'm kind of in favor of that.
I am, but I would like there to be there was times when I was like, you've had a really cool idea. I would like to reward you with extra action slots. Like,
So there's a way of winning them.
kind of, yeah. Like, I like the idea of you use them to carry the narrative forwards rather than it being just kind of like, okay, you've got 3, do your thing. But then again, the problem is that does that then make the game competitive among players? Because then it's like, well, I'm doing well, so I'm going to get more slots so I can do better. A bit like how most drinking games punish you for winning.
I'm thinking that at the end of each day, the players and GM can vote on who they want to get an extra action slot.
Possibly. I mean,
Most entertaining.
Would this be for the next day though, or the same
for
day?
the next day.
I would be hesitant for the vote side of it, just because I dislike voting in a game. But I like your idea of like whoever does the best gets the thing.
That's the thing. If you do a vote, then you know who you have to impress. That's my take on it.
True, actually, that's very good. That's a very good point.
There's also there's some like what they do in Tenra Band Show, where the people that aren't in the scene are there to reward people for being cool and awesome, and you get to give them cool and awesome points. I think that could work.
Yeah, I could see where you're coming from.
So it's a good way to get the audience involved.
True. I think like if we were going to do it on stage, I would definitely do a vote like with the audience, who can cheer the loudest kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't want to do the sort of thing they do with Tenra on stage, because that requires throwing something to the player, and having the audience pelt us with dice or whatever would be
you can pass it,
awkward.
you don't have to throw it.
To be honest, I love the idea of doing that, just because I would bring my safety helmet from work, which has got like full face protection and that lot, and just be like, yep, throw away, guys.
So I'm gonna have my GMing helmet.
Yeah, just as you guys, it's like a Roman wizard's hat. You guys come out with chipped teeth and black eyes, and I'm just like, do 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 do.
Okay, so I think the action slots, something needs to check, but I don't know quite what it is. Any ideas?
Because the thing I found slightly hard was just having 3 of them. Sometimes you couldn't think of stuff to put in all of them.
Okay, so
like Molly said, for play by post, it would be fine because a bit more thinking stuff is just when you're there.
More than this, it solves a problem that lots of people have in the tables where they have a player who doesn't participate as much or is shyer, and they don't, they struggle to think with stuff. On one hand, this helps them have an equal time in the spotlight. On the other hand, it might force them to just pop something out and make it really intense as an experience for them.
Okay, I'm thinking instead of having 3 actions, you've got 3 objectives.
Okay, so today I want to achieve.
Yeah, and
I
you
like
go.
that.
Which are you going after first?
Yeah, and then if you keep screwing up, you might burn your entire day trying to get the garage door opener.
Yeah,
I like that. That's, to me, that feels a lot more, I hesitate to say gamey, but you know what I mean, like a lot more intelligent than just.
I think that really works. And
It keeps giving you targets to go for, so it's
Mm.
clear what you should be doing.
And it allows for kind of I am Groot moments where it's like, okay, what do you want to do? Well, I don't really know what I want to do, so I'll just like keep on keeping on.
Or I'll run a distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it might be that you get to like action number 4 in the day, and then you suddenly go, oh, actually, I just thought of something really useful I could do. Okay, guys, I'm gonna change my action now to be this,
Thing.
Yeah. Oh, I hear the noise. What I'm going to do something to respond to it.
Yeah.
So you're like a valid objective would be see what happens and run interference on the keepers.
Yeah.
As an example, I think it's another one where we probably want example.
Yeah.
Also, I think there should be a limit to how many scenes you can do in a day. Not a hard limit necessarily. But you're expected to have around. You're expected to, you can sort of budget for about 3 scenes a day. Although failed noise rolls might tie you up for some of that.
I think that actually releasing actions from scenes helps every table do it differently, and I think this is a good thing. I really feel that if we do it as objectives, like this game can be transformed into a more long form game where perhaps a single day takes 2 sessions, because that's something that really frequently happens in my games.
Or you could make it a week. You could adjust the pacing. You've got 3 objectives for this week, and we're just going to play out the important scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole week takes like 2 hours of playtime because you're just doing the most important scene for each objective.
Yeah, you're kind of traveling via montage.
Yeah, so you're expecting about 3 scenes before you get to meet up again and discuss.
The thing is, if you do objectives instead of actions, and you don't put a hard limit on scenes, you solve the problem of how often players need to interact with each other, because actually they can spend their whole day as a group and selectively break from the group to do really specific things. But if we can share time, we can say, okay, we'll do your objective first, and then we collectively do mine, and that sort of thing.
I think that works really nicely, because you're also, as the GM, you're focusing. I'll be blunt. My current long-running campaign, one of the big problems I'm having at the moment is that my players, like, they can't decide what they want to do. They know their objectives, but they can't decide how they want to go about achieving them.
Right.
So, like you say, like going, okay, set your objectives, and we'll role play out that chunk. To me, it's just like, it's a dream come true, because it means that I don't have to run like 4 sessions of them trying to figure out which shop has got the evil shopkeeper in it,
Yeah. Okay. I'm not entirely sure if I'm understanding you correctly, Dimitri.
Should I explain more?
Yeah, please.
So my idea was that the main reason that our characters remained segregated was the fact that we each had 3 scenes in a day. But if it feels more natural if we had 3 objectives, this way we could we wouldn't have to choose between participating in our scenes or joining each other's scenes. So I have 3 objectives for the day, and if I want to achieve all 3 of them, this I have an incentive. I have an incentive to do my own stuff and not really help you. If we don't have specific scenes per day, I can do mine with your help, and then I can help you do your stuff.
Yeah, it means that you will naturally come up with you'll naturally come up with objectives that kind of dovetail together rather than
that fit together.
Yeah, rather than having that level of separation that they had, because there was that kind of feeling. I don't know if it was intentional or you guys noticed it, but I kept getting the vibe that there was occasionally you guys were like, I guess like I should pick something different because otherwise it's just going to be, it's just going to be all of us dogpiling this one problem.
I think to an extent that's a genre convention. We shouldn't be dogpiling one problem, and I think that was a good thing.
True.
Because the whole genre is people doing their own thing, and it all kind of coming together as a plan. For me, that's a very big thing of the genre, and also the freedom of association is kind of what we're losing by being in this zoo. It's that freedom of choice is a bonus for the game, I thought. And I'm one of the ones who suffered most from it, and I personally thought it was an addition to the game. Oddly enough,
that's fair. I mean, I get where you're coming from. I think maybe it might be that we're kind of looking at it as 6 and 2 3s. Like it.
Ooh.
It works in both directions. It's just maybe put in a note saying like, put in the flavor you prefer. Like, don't feel like we are the grand arbiters of your game's fate, but consider whether you want to run it from an objective manner or if you want to run it from a
heist.
Yeah, like do you want to run it heist or objective?
See, one of the things that was mentioned earlier was the forced cooperation. You will be together at this point. So marking some parts of the day as you guys will be together at this point, you're gonna have trouble being together at this point, could be interesting.
That could work, yeah.
As long as the players know in advance.
Yeah, maybe actually the better way to approach it would be so Bubble Gumshoe does a system I really like where you
Still
can
not played that.
Oh, you should.
It's good.
Yeah, it's really good. So you can travel between areas by expending skill points, like to go around. Some areas are marked safe and they're free to move around. Some areas are marked as like adult areas, so they cost 1, and some are marked as dangerous, so they cost 2.
So you need heat cost, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Say like if you are solo, it's always a 0. If you want to work together, well, to work together at this precise point, that would be 1 heat. To work together at this point, though, would be 2 heat, and maybe even allow it to scale as high as you like. So you could end up with it being like, I get that you guys want to work together, right? But it's literally you're meant to be giving birth to you're meant to be witnessing the birth of your child in your enclosure. If you're not there, that's bad times amounts of heat.
Okay, so at the beginning it's like the GM has some amount of heat, like they're encouraged to spread an amount of heat around the board, basically. So you can get away from this, but it will cost you X.
I think that's a more mature way of approaching it rather than just kind of, either the stick together or stay apart. So the starting mode is stick together, but you can the starting mode is stay apart, but you have that kind of pseudo reasoning for why you're not constantly working together and curb stomping a single problem.
Yeah, because it is gonna creep up your noise.
Yeah, and it would make noise much more relevant as well, because I did struggle with trying to make noise relevant. I think that was more me failing than the mechanic failing, but still the point stands.
I think 6 heat to spread around for the day
makes sense. Yeah.
So you can put the day's roughly divided into 3 slots.
Yeah.
Which means there are people that are gonna not have Actually, I've done that. It should be 2 times the number of players.
Yeah,
Yeah.
key it off that so you.
I am a big fan of those kinds of mechanics where it's like, you got 11 players? No problem. We scale all the way up.
Oh, I've got an 8-player game microscope for UKG. Oh, sorry. We're going to do that bit later, aren't we?
Yes.
Having a chat about what we've got going on.
Yep. And remember, microscope, according to all the PDF download web places, doesn't actually exist.
Okay.
Luckily, I got a physical copy.
It's a joke. Basically, the guy who makes microscope is really chill. So he asked a load of the PDF sharing places like, can you not post my game? So most of them don't.
Don't. Okay.
So we're gonna roughly divide the time, like the day, into 3. I think 3 is a good number of scenes.
Yeah, because like opening of zoo, daytime, closing seem to work out quite well narratively. You know.
Morning, peak time, evening as well is
Yeah.
kind of so roughly spread out across the day. Again, it depends what what we're saying zoo, because obviously that's the title, but it could be any other sort of
compound.
Yeah. Okay, so that I think is the day structure. I think the end of day noise roll, it didn't come up, but we should probably keep it.
Well, it did actually. I was rolling for it. It's just you never accumulated enough heat for it to make any relevance to the game in a mechanical way, you know?
Should we tweak the numbers, perhaps?
No, I think the numbers work. I just think it was that
they were aimed for more dice rolls per scene.
Yeah. You know, I think it was, like I say, more a failing of me than a failing of the...
To be honest, I thought that's what we were aiming for when we set those numbers, so I kind of made it implicit in how I did some of the maths. Because I did do a little bit of number tweaking when I did the write-up, because some stuff just wasn't quite clear from the audio. So I did word things quite specifically at times. So obviously some of my bias got into it that way as well.
But that's pro tip, kids. If you ever want to design a video game or any kind of game, everything is determined by your bias.
Oh yeah.
You know, I expected that, to be honest.
I'm not surprised in any way, shape, or form.
But that's the thing. I think some people might be. But,
yeah.
You allowed bias to come in? It's like, well, yeah, I'm made of bias, in fact.
It is my nature as a human.
Bias and meat.
Bias and meat.
And I'm full of wasps.
We need to get you that on a t-shirt.
What I'm full of wasps, or
no, Chris needs a t-shirt that says warning contains bias
meat.
And
meat.
So that's our second t-shirt.
Bias and meat.
Yeah.
That's a great catchphrase for a show.
It sounds like a fantastic like punk band. We are bias and meat, and you suck.
Or like a really bad comedy duo.
Yeah.
Or like a really old school racist comedy duo.
Yeah. Bias and meat show.
Yeah. Oh, my dad used to watch that.
The Bias and Meat show.
And a couple of years later, they're still on tour. You just have a different meat or something.
Okay, so now that was a hell of a non sequitur.
That was a beautiful non sequitur. I like that. Okay, so the actual dice system.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I really liked it. Yep, it was. It was. So there was a line from an old video game magazine I used to love, which is they said game mechanics should be like wiping your bum. They should be quick, easy, and make you feel clean. And I felt that it solved all of that. It was nice and easy for me because it was just assemble the pool, make sure that I roll it on the bit of my table that doesn't have my mouse mat on.
And makes a nice noise, yeah.
And that was it. And it was nice and easy to just calculate, okay, do the division of fives.
Eyeballing difficulties, nice and easy.
Yeah. I mean, Dimitri, you really hit out the park when you suggested the numbers how you did. Like, I thought it would be a bit too simplistic initially, to be honest, but
same, to be honest. I had some reservations, but actually
it was absolutely spot on. So well done, mate.
Thank you.
Cool. Right. So the noise roll. So we'll leave that. The distractions. Do we need? I think we need to keep them in.
Yeah, I mean, I think distractions should be kind of your default. Your basically your default mode is either distraction or laying low. That there's no.
You've got a backup in case you've just got, nothing you need to do, or you haven't thought of anything yet.
Yeah, or like because you have to defend against brain fart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is surprisingly difficult to do on a podcast.
Yeah. For anyone who may have played in games with us, you would not believe the amount of that went on during this podcast.
I edited. I didn't actually edit that much out of the last one. The worst one was the first arc.
It makes sense. Yeah, we had to create something out of nothing.
The second half of the first arc, I think I dropped like 20 minutes out of that hour. Wow. It was ludicrous. Like between some tech issues and a missed start and some. Wait, have we done this? I cut a lot out of that. We went way over.
Yeah, tech issues and misstarts. I can't imagine that.
Right. Before we go on to the whole next section of the podcast, which is about like what have we learned, doing this. With the escape itself, I mean, it was very rules light, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, once again the room needed clearing out. That was my only regret, was that like I had some more cool set pieces planned, but I didn't shove you guys quite hard enough in the direction I want. I should have forced the issue to get you out into that first mini zoo and then out again.
I think this was mostly due to the microphones being present. Like if we were an actual group around the table, it would be different.
Yeah.
I think one thing might be a case of give some advice along the lines of it's fine to alternate between forcing the issue and having them automatically succeed and a chance of failure. Not every bit of the escape has to have a chance of failure.
Yeah.
Some of it can be a pre-gone conclusion.
Yeah, because like Ocean's 11 would be pants if they never made it into the vault.
Yeah, but if they get caught in the vault, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But if they never get there, that's boring. So I think that a bit of advice along those lines. Cool. Right. I think that's it for the revised version. I'm gonna have to go get that typed up, but not right now.
Yeah.
So the next topic I'd like to talk about is the podcast itself, because I think that's an interesting thing that people might get a bit out of listening to us chat about experience on.
I've done some radio work and podcast stuff.
So I'm really new to this. I've never been on a podcast before, so I had no idea what I was doing. You guys?
Pretty much the same here. I've never particularly listened to podcasts. I've only done online role-playing games 3 times before. So, yeah, because it's very different just because you can't people's faces and stuff.
You can't reach across the table and slap someone.
Yeah, it's a very different feel than when you're sat around and can read the mood and what.
It seems we lost Purple.
You dropped off again.
God damn it, Craig.
He says keep talking. So yeah, I've done radio in the past, so it really wasn't the first time for me. But I think that the main difference between this and what everything else I've done was the fact that we had to edit, and the other was the time constraint.
Like the time constraint of getting 4 people from around the country who have lives.
Yeah.
Like, if we were all uni students who didn't do anything, probably would have been fairly trivial, but because it was that added extra of like, well, I've got work tomorrow and I've got a meeting tonight, and the scheduling you have to be a lot hotter on. Yeah,
this and the fact that we had to have a fairly wide range of game elements all in 4 hours. That doesn't always work the same on the table. And in my table, I often have this sort of, I call them elevator scenes, where two player characters are stuck on the same space, and they just keep talking about stuff instead of doing things. But this is actually good because they develop character and they connect with each other, and we cannot really afford to have that on such a show, I think.
Well, it's a bit like Critical Role. They had an interview with Matt Mercer, and one of the big complaints leveled at them is that, you know, that there's this group of people, that this generation of role players who kind of have the feeling that their role play should be Critical Role.
Okay, I'm going to interject here because the wonderful thing is we were just talking about things that go wrong while recording a podcast. Did you guys go over the bit that my audio just cut out and I had to restart my computer?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you mention it?
Yes. So, but yeah, basically we have Craig, who's our recording bot, and if you ever hear us blaming Craig, it means that something went wrong.
Which is quite often.
For reference, we're recording this on Thursday the 17th, the day that Discord had a large infrastructure issue, which hit the very beginning of our recording.
In fact, I believe the phrase I used was, "This is hell, we are dead, and this is hell."
Yeah. So, what have you guys covered? Quickly.
Just like time constraints and things like that, and how you know, because we have lives and this has to be scheduled around them, it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
And the fact that because we need to fit this in 4 hours of gameplay, we couldn't really afford to connect with the characters as much and do, you know, personal drama scenes.
Yeah, I found it really hard not having people in front of me, not like being able to pick up on body language and stuff like that, which is a lot of how I GM.
I mean, I was kind of lucky in that I've done online role play before, like over voice and that lot. So for me, it was one of the reasons why I elected to be the GM, was because I've got a little bit of experience with it. And it was the same issues, like you say, you know, you can't see people, you can't tell when someone's actually like playing Binding of Isaac rather than doing the game, you know?
Yeah. I mean, when Dimitri was saying about Jack and
Jason.
Yeah, Jack and Jason, and they're sort of getting wires completely crossed. I found that was really hard because you didn't know that the frustration was in character.
Yeah, I really thought I loved it, but I think that generally, it's, you know, it's the first time we've played together. I don't know if you've played with anybody else, but it's literally the first time I play with any of you guys, and it still went fine. I mean, like, we didn't have any sort of major problems due to this.
I've been in a couple of bits with Moley, nothing like serious though, like long game wise or anything like that. Just little games, hasn't it been generally? Yeah. Played a lot of stuff with Chris. A lot of
mostly again con games, but
yeah, I think this feeds back into kind of what I was saying about the expectations. So, like, the guys from Critical Role were interviewed because there's a lot of new players who kind of feel that that's the experience they should be aiming for. You know, they should have highly polished voice actor, funny people.
Everyone can always think of something cool and awesome to do rather than just I twang.
Yeah, and like I've done, you know, I've been a stand-up comedian. I've done a lot of improv classes. I did a lot of drama, you know, and I'd like to think I'm pretty good at the whole keeping up with people and coming up with witty one-liners and that lot. But it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
You know, running a game where I can't see people on a rule system that, let's be honest here, let's be generous and say that we glued together, you know?
Yeah.
I think we did a pretty good job of putting it together, actually. I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, it works, but it was more that it could have gone south very easily.
You had to keep an eye on it. You weren't comfortable in the system. And...
Yeah, I did feel a bit bad because there were moments when, like, as a GM, normally I would switch off. Well, not switch off, but I'd let my players argue amongst themselves and decide what they're doing as their next batch of actions, and then I'd kind of come back into the game. Whereas with this, I had to be sat there, particularly because of the time limit and that lot, and keeping it entertaining for people at home, so to speak. I had to be sat there going, okay, crap, what are these guys going to do? What can I do to force this issue? What can I do to push this along? I was kind of having to think 3 or 4 moves ahead.
Yeah. It's like whack-a-mole. There's tons of things emerging all this. You're not comfortable automating any of these because it's the first try of the game, and the first arc in the show and all that stuff. Myself, this is I've done radio in the past, but it all has been in my native language, so there's a million things you need to keep in mind all in the same time. But I think we saved it very gracefully.
I've been really impressed in general with the amount of editing that I've had to do hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be in some places. We've generally managed to do things quite well, I think. I don't know how it comes across to everyone else listening, because obviously that's slightly different, but I personally felt that there were a lot of times that could have been really bad that weren't, where we've forgotten stuff or we've kind of talked over each other, and they've actually been quite simple to fix.
Actually, that's a good point on the forgetting stuff. I had someone ask me, like, you wrote these rules, you and you guys sat down and you wrote these rules, and there were moments when you ignored them, like what, or forgot them. What encouraged you to do that? And I was I forgot.
Yeah, it was so weird doing that because, like, we wrote, like, I've run games that I've written before, but I wrote them on my own, so I know exactly what went into it. Whereas with this, I found that I had really sort of inaccurate memories in places of what we put down. There were a couple of points where I was like, actually, point of order here, we should be doing this. And I'd forgotten it when we started doing it. And I only realized looking through the text, because what I remembered the discussion, but not necessarily what we actually agreed on in the end.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose that, that can be a point of order for, particularly people who are looking to be new GM, is that, arguably this podcast could be called Roll with the Punches podcast, because that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Fun. And that was my goal, was to make it so that, that people who are listening got to hear 4 guys playing a game and enjoying themselves, rather than 4 guys having an argument about the best way to implement a subset of rules.
Yeah. Dimitri?
Yeah, I wanted to say that the main reason why we forget is because, first, we don't have as much experience with this system. Usually when I create RPG stuff, I go through the mechanics a lot before presenting them to anyone. And the other thing is that possibly due to us as people, we're going to be very different to most of the audience, in the sense that there's a few RPG things we do simultaneously. So I'm designing a game, I'm running 2 different games in different rule sets, and then there's this podcast that we have to record a couple of weeks with a big distance between them, a lot of technical difficulties, different ways of sorting out notes. I think if someone got this game and printed it and decided to go with it and run it, they would be more focused on on how the mechanics actually work than we are.
Yeah.
Sense.
I'm currently all the way through the recordings. I'm sat with I've got a laptop which has the game planning. So we've got timesheets which we don't stick to at all, which is brilliant.
Sorry, carry
So
on.
I've got the timesheet up. I've got a Google Docs page with some of the discussion on it. I've got a copy of the game on my main screen. I've got a clock, so I can so I've got an idea of how much audio we've got down. I've got a notepad in front of me which has physical notes about the game, and I've got another physical notepad which has times, which is stuff like 32 minutes 30, me spluttering, and stuff like that written down on it of what I've got to edit. So there's a lot going on.
And I think a lot of this though is it's our experiences as being forever GMs of being able to juggle that set of systems. I mean, I'm hoping to give this game to some friends of mine who are looking for like a one shot to run
Cool.
and see how they do with just the written notes,
Yeah.
Awesome.
I fully expect it's going to be like a short bus colliding with a clown car, but we can dream.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to hear if anyone listening is playing the game, has played it, just their thoughts on it. I'd really love to hear feedback. It's entirely possible that you can do a better job than we can.
Nonsense.
Okay, so I think, is there anything else you really want to discuss about the podcast? I'm going to have a chat to Molly a little bit about GMing it because of the timing issues and the specific challenges of GMing, which we're going to do now. So Molly, has it been strange running a game for the people that were there writing it with you?
Yeah, it was a bit odd. Like, I think the problem is that it was the fact that we wrote it and we were still getting bits of the rules wrong. Like, like I can remember talking about things, but then realizing that those things didn't kind of make it into the final rules.
Yeah, I had a couple of moments like that when I had to go, hang on. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, actually that isn't how it works. And like we're both fairly kind of rule of cool, play fast and loose kind of GMs.
Yeah.
So we both were in that situation where it was like, nah, the rules don't matter. No, wait, no. For this podcast, they do. That's the
they
point
have to matter.
of this podcast. Like, yeah, so that was a bit strange.
So yeah, do you also think it was weird because it was the other people in the game were the co-authors, or did that not really come into it?
I think there was a slight issue in that because we all created and we all kind of put our oar in, sort of, people had bits they were precious about, and it was a struggle for me not to try and push the bits I liked over the actual game, or trying to rule it how I would over the actual game,
I know what you mean. I definitely feel that when I'm GMing, a lot of my style goes into it. That's why I don't like running pre-written modules.
Yeah, I suppose because like I've been doing it for pay. I have my own pre-written modules that I run. So like I've fought through that pain barrier.
So as though if you're the one writing the module, you don't get that.
Yeah, true,
gap.
true. But like some people ask me to run stuff, they'll ask me to run like Out of the Abyss or Storm King's Thunder or some of the old
classic modules.
Yeah, which is cool, but it's also a bit of a pain,
because they've got an idea about how it should be done.
Yeah, basically.
So it's kind of similar to what you were saying about this game then.
Yeah, and but the big difference, like if you're getting paid to run a game, there's a certain amount of yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, because ultimately these people, like for me, they're paying 60 quid a session to play.
Yeah.
So they're the customer, whereas in this it was almost that we were trying to prove ourselves with like how cool we could come up with the design for something almost. So it was a very different side of the, pushing our own agenda.
Oh yeah, totally. It's also a taste thing, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that was interesting was that, considering we came up with the game, in my head when we were talking about it and designing it, and then when actually kind of, dice met table, it ran in a very different way. And I'm apparently,
Really?
yeah, like I haven't listened back to it, but apparently you can hear kind of a like, oh, from me when I realized that.
Yeah. In what way do you think it was different?
I thought
Have
it
you
would
gotten-
flow a lot more.
Yeah.
Like I thought it would be a lot smoother and a lot like less play by post.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why it was like that was kind of because we were running over Discord and we were running for a podcast.
I'm not so sure, to be honest. I think that the structure of the game lends itself to that sort of demarcated time steps.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, we have got
know.
that. We got slots, kind of.
Yeah, and once we've got that, I wasn't surprised by that.
Okay.
But then again, I was the one who typed up the game, so I kind of got a different view of it to other people, I think.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so apart from running with us lot, I'm not going to ask how the others were as players because that would be a little bit rude. So how was it running over Discord? How do you feel that differs from running face-to-face?
So I've ran a few games like over Discord or voice or whatever you want to call it in the past. So it wasn't a complete mystery to me. But one of the big annoyances for me as like a GM over Discord is when you can tell people are distracted.
Yeah.
Because it's not like in real life where if someone's on their phone, you can go, "Oi,"
Yeah.
off your phone. If someone's on their phone over Discord and they've got their mic on mute.
Yeah, you can't really tell what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I had a group, they paid me to run the game for them. And on Discord, it will tell you, hey, this person's playing this game. And
Well,
I've
it's
literally
currently telling me Dimitri's playing Sid Meier's Civilization 5.
Exactly. So I'm sat there, I'm running a D&D game for people, and all of a sudden, two of the guys start playing Counter-Strike.
Brilliant.
And it comes up like they are playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and it's like, guys?
Yeah.
And they were genuinely like, how did you know? It's like, it tells
Told
me.
me.
So that's one of the struggles, is keeping things kind of in frame and, busy.
Mm.
And the other one is, as we said in the rest of the post-mortem and the roundup, there's that weirdness of like not having that physical, being able to see people's
I find that really difficult.
But then again, one thing I love is that, like, if I don't want, like when Jack ran off, I could just deafen you and there's no way for you to know.
Apart from that, I had to do the edit.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's no way for you to know what's going on. Like, if it wasn't a podcast, when we did the secrets and it was people just coming and talking to me on their own.
You are aware I didn't actually listen to those. I just spliced the silence.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
I kind of just trusted you with it. I did ask them afterwards, listeners, like, was there anything I needed to edit? And was told no, so I didn't bother. I just
but like that's the point. It was complete mystery,
Yeah, I had no idea, which I thought was really, really good.
Yeah, which
definitely added to the game a lot for me.
Yeah, which is great. I know, I love that aspect of using Discord because you don't have to do the whole okay, everyone get up, you're going into a different room, you're no.
I really was worried when you suggested it, but I'm very, very glad you did.
Yeah,
not from a game perspective, from a
editing perspective,
and a podcast perspective.
That's fair enough.
Do you feel that the podcast thing made a difference at all, really, or apart from timing? You mentioned that you were having to run to a definite time frame, which was a little different.
And for better or for worse, I mean, I don't know about you, but it certainly did stand for me. Like, there was a feeling that I had to be kind of on,
Yeah,
like
on the
we are,
ball.
we are presenting ourselves as being good enough at doing this thing that you should listen to us. So we have to be at a certain level of ability, I suppose, and people kind of have to.
Kind of get you.
Yeah,
It's similar
so
to doing sort of stage stuff, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it doesn't really matter because if you cock it up, you can run with it, but
yeah,
you still kind of want to make a good showing.
yeah, and I mean also because I do this for money as well. So
Yeah,
if someone listens to this podcast and I'm disconnected and bored or whatever, it's a bad advertisement,
Yeah.
So it did mean that there was that kind of, well, for me at least, there was that element of got to make sure that I'm bringing my A game when, even if I wasn't that bothered, or not that bothered, but when, like, I don't know about you, but for me, when I run games like in my personal life, there's like an ebb and a flow.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
Yes.
like you're not full contact, full impact all the time.
Yeah.
You sometimes you try to step back, let things kind of mull a little bit, and
so like
see what the players do.
The most common thing I do, like with my players in my home D&D game, is I'll go like, we'll get to a point where, say, they've got a fork and they can choose to do X or Y, and my players like to prevaricate. So I will quite often go, right, you guys argue what you're going to do. I'm going to go to the loo.
Yeah, I do that quite a lot.
Yeah. So then, for 15, 20 minutes or less or more or whatever, they have a big argument in character and that lot. And I can do stuff. I can get myself a drink. I can, eat some food. I can go to the loo. I can stretch. And then I sit back down and I go, right, let's do this.
Also gives you a little bit of time to get your head together.
Yeah, and decide like, okay, well, they've got these two options. So if they take A, I'll do this. If they take B, I'll do this. But I can half listen in and go, oh, that's actually option C that I didn't think about. That I've got a plan for.
Whereas we couldn't really do that over a podcast. I don't think it would really work unless we got very solid characters.
Yeah, and we just had to roll and roll and roll and roll and roll. It's that kind of, you can't
take a step back.
Yeah, you can't step back. You've got to just keep pushing, because we've got to be, like, let's be honest here, we've got to be entertaining. It's a 2-hour show, and realistically we need 2 hours of content. So we can't have 10 minutes of you guys deciding what color sword you want to buy.
Yeah, I mean
have you ever
I can be guilty of weird things like that on occasion.
Well, like, have you listened to the Adventure Zone?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is, they've even admitted it in interviews, that is kind of semi-scripted, and they're funny people. They deliberately go out of their way to get into situations, and there's very little dead time. There's very little of them going, To
be honest, we did record a bit more than was broadcast, but not by a lot.
But we still were trying to keep things moving.
Yeah, I think that's one of the weird things about having just 4 hours. I definitely felt the pressure there, but luckily, because of the structure of the game, I had lots of points where I could sit back, review my notes, make sure everything was on time. Occasionally type a thing going, guys, we've got 10 minutes left, and need to kick this thing into gear.
Yeah, and and also, like, I've seen you at events playing games, and we've done some stuff together as well, where I think you, much like me, if it was the right game, would be perfectly happy to have a 3-hour game where 6 characters sat around in a room chatting.
I mean, I had a game, one of my Exalted sessions, which was just them going around a market for 4 hours, just two of the PCs. The other player had various at various times options to come in as various NPCs, and he just went, "No, this is too funny." He was just sitting back, watching them and just laughing because they were trying to buy a present for him.
I see.
And but obviously that wouldn't make a brilliant podcast because he thought it was great and entertaining because he was
Lynn
sat
jobs,
there and it was his character.
Yeah.
But anyway, shall we get back to the main discussion? Okay. So, what are people up to apart from obviously this recording? What have you got coming up? I know, Dimitri, you were saying you were running. Was it 2 campaigns?
I'm a player, and I play changing the Lost every now and then.
Cool.
And I'm storytelling Mage the Awakening 2nd edition game.
Ooh, cool.
In role-playing Haven, which is a London club. It's actually quite refreshing because there's a hard time limit. We do 12 weeks of games, and then we switch, or we go, or we can go on. But the thing is, it's good to have a duration preset for your game. It helps plan and helps bring things to an end before the game actually breaks apart due to attendance or anything else. So that's always nice.
Yeah, I used to run a uni club that had 10 weeks blocks for campaigns, and I found that really, really good for structuring bigger games. I'm really guilty of having games overrunning. Molly?
I've been using seasonal content. Like, we're currently in season 3 of my D&D campaign.
Okay. How big do you tend to make a season?
Till it feels right, because it's just a home group.
Okay.
But I try to have like a beginning of season, mid-season arc, revelation about what's the end of the season. Then we do an all-day game to cap off the season.
Ooh, nice. Chris?
Yeah, the club I go to does a similar kind of thing where it's either 12 or 4-week block. So I've just finished running Ryutama, which was like the Japanese map fantasy-esque one. It's a bit kind of...
Do you want to say a little bit about that? Because I don't know if people know it.
It's like a very kind of slightly simplified, cutesy Dungeons and Dragons. But the main thing is you're kind of relatively normalish people traveling the world to help others rather than hard-bitten adventurers.
Sorry, can you say that again? Because I think your mic cut out.
Is that cut out? Wait. Sorry, let me try saying that again. So yeah, it's kind of like slightly simplified, cutesy, a bit cutesy Dungeons and Dragons, that sort of thing. Very heavily map fantasy, but it's got some pared down rules for like keeping track of food and water. You're generally supposed to be normalish people traveling the world to like see new sights and make the world a bit of a better place rather than kind of hard-bitten adventurers out for gold and glory.
Okay.
So that tends to be, it's kind of just a bit like fairly light and fun. Like you have spells that let you summon a heated table and a plate full of oranges, so you can sit down and have a break and eat some oranges.
Molly?
I'm running my weekly game. I'm running my weekly D&D game. We just had session 36, actually.
Wow.
Nice.
I would go into what's going on, but then I might give something away, and I know at least one of my players listens to this. I'm having a bit of a quiet period when it comes to being booked to run games. So if you're looking to get a game booked, I'm GM Moley. Please book me. Help me pay my rent.
Awesome.
I'm doing a lot of design, actually. A lot of design work recently.
Cool.
Not a huge amount of RPG stuff, but some. I'm more doing card games at the moment.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, what have people got coming up then? I know a couple of us mentioned UK Games Expo.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm trying to remember if we mentioned that on mic or off, but let's assume it was off. And then, so yeah, I am going to be at UK Games Expo in 2 weeks' time. Well, 2 weeks after the podcast is broadcast. Well, 2 weeks' time actually. Anyway, yeah, so I'm going to be there. I'm running a load of games, which are unfortunately all fully booked. I say unfortunately. I'm glad they're booked, but it's unfortunate for people that are only just finding out about them, I suppose. I've got an interesting spread of games. I've got a Nobilis game, which I am absolutely delighted that John let me run. I was kind of expecting it to not make it into, like, not be accepted.
I'm actually working on a brochure for the Games Expo, but I'm not attending. I really don't. I really don't have any gaming convention plans or event plans for the next few months.
Chris?
So yeah, I'm going to UK Games Expo, but just purely as a attendee to have fun and see things. I might possibly crew
You booked
next
into
year.
any games?
Sorry?
You booked into any RPGs?
No, I keep meaning to actually look at the schedule and see what's going on, but
I think most things are now booked.
yeah, at the moment it'll just be going and seeing what it's like because I've never actually been before. So
it'd be like me, you, and Ed and Tommy in the bar on like at the night.
Sounds like a plan.
That midnight game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm currently trying to get all my Nobilis characters finished off. And writing Nobilis characters is hard work. Like, the system's super easy. Coming up with the characters is really, really difficult.
They will have to be able to interact with each other at all. Like, do they have to key off each other in any way?
Next thing?
I'll be at UK Board Games Expo on the Sunday, just because I'm working. So I'm going to just pop along on the Sunday and have a wander around. So I've been reading a lot of old D&D.
How old?
We're talking like, first edition, Mills edition, like the original module.
Yeah.
We need to invent a time machine so I can go back in time and slap Gary Gygax and say not to use 3 columns.
What is in terms of layout, page layout?
Yeah.
Oh my god. 3 columns, really? I've never seen but most of RPG, I'm a designer by trade, and most of RPG layouts are horrendous. I struggle to read classic World of Darkness games.
I just remember a couple of the World of Darkness splat books were white text on a black page, which was fucking horrible to read.
Or worse, really worse. Some, novelty fonts, handwriting, that sort of.
Yeah, or the other one there was a book which was black marble. All the pages were black marble, and the text was red.
Why?
It was hellish.
So, before we move on and sign off, what are people wanting out of the next one? I think it'd be nice to do something rather different. Just maybe a different style of game, maybe something very, very different world. I don't know. Is there anything people would like to see in the next game we do?
Well, sadly, I am going to be a bit too busy to take part in the next arc, but what I would really like to see is something kind of completely ridiculous Hong Kong action movie, kick in the door, blow stuff up type thing.
Okay, so something a bit more actiony?
Yeah.
Cool. Me, I'd like to see some PvP. I don't know how it would work. I don't think I've seen very many games at all that have done good PvP, so I would like to try it.
Okay.
Well, if we try it and the game fails, we know it doesn't work because we're the best designers ever. So if we cannot make it work, nobody can.
Yeah, I would like to have a crack at it though. It's not something that I have done PvP, but I've only done it in a LARP setting, so that's slightly different.
Yeah, it always is.
Chris, anything you'd like to see?
Yeah, something possibly just kind of more things where we try and work with integrating the setting design or player input into the setting, into what comes out, so rather than just the GM making it all up or dictating from on high, kind of the group or round tabling, that side of it.
So more, because we had a lot of upfront group input at this one. So you're thinking more sort of in-game group input?
Yes, something like that.
Okay, that's really interesting. Dimitri?
I think, but I don't know. It could be clashing with the whole PvP angle.
Don't worry, that doesn't matter. We can discuss it. That's the great thing about this. This isn't set in stone.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just saying. I think I would like to explore more in-character drama, in the sense that we have a good set of relationships between the characters, and the group has a little more cohesion in the way they do things instead of building them separately and just putting them on the same situation.
Yeah. Oh God, now they've just got this whole idea. It's like it's friends, but they're all secret agents, and it's like for them trying to work out who's dating who and what's going on with Ross and Rachel's relationship while beating the crap out of terrorists in some crazy Hong Kong action style.
Okay.
It could work.
I am not sure.
Or, like a way to combine, Moley said, martial arts and kick the door things and actually stuff and character relations is Kill Bill, for example. It has strong interactions between characters and drama and emotion, but at the same time has katanas and, kicking shit out.
I mean, some of the Chinese wushu stuff is basically soap opera with crazy kung fu.
I'm pretty sure there's at least one harem anime where all of the haremettes are secret agents, martial artists and whatnot. So you basically occasionally cut to random badly animated action scenes because it's a harem show with fuck all budget. And and kind of who knows what the hell everyone else is. It was kind of a thing.
Right. So now Chris has used his one swear for the episode.
Sorry.
I think that's a good time to leave it. Okay. Thanks for listening. We've been Roll on the Adventure.
Yep. Look after yourselves, guys. I've been Moley.
And Chris.
I was Demetrius. Okay, again, following on Chris. I was Demetrius. Have a lovely night.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.